Fun. Okay. Fabulous. Well, good morning. Hello. Live and recorded Powerful Inc. Startup Stories podcast is coming at you from Canada, from Switzerland, from podcast players, from Facebook Live, also available on YouTube. I know. It's everywhere. I'm taking over all the platforms to have conversation and laughter and community, right? So going live is just another way for us to build community and engage with people. Honestly, I'm probably not going to be responding to comments today. I'll just be focused in the conversation, but I can respond to them after. So welcome to a beautiful episode, the first one of 2024. I have the delightful, the wonderful, the expert Connie Graf here with me today, who runs a business called From Chaos to Peace. And Connie and I have been hanging out quite a bit online and getting to know each other. And I just love her energy because even just the word declutter, like softens me and cracks me open. So welcome to the show, Connie. I'm looking forward to what we're going to talk about today and to, giving you a chance to share about yourself and why you do what you do.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm all excited too. And I just wanted to say my word for 2024 is connection. So I love it that we're now broadcasting everywhere on your channels. And so that's awesome. I look forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Connection. What a beautiful, beautiful way to tap into like the supernatural web of energy, right? And really
Mhm.
build a legacy of some kind. And I don't mean like a Oprah legacy, because we all have the capacity to build a legacy in our own way. So that's fabulous. Another reason we're so aligned, isn't it? So
Hmm.
what's really fun too, I think I said, right, from Canada, from Switzerland, is we're kind of popping up all over the place here with the podcast and each other. And what's interesting about that is Connie actually lives, we call it across the pond from where I
Yes.
live. I live on an island. There's about an hour and a half of ocean by ferry boat, and then the mainland, as we call it, the continent of North America. So Connie lives across the pond, but you're in Switzerland at present, and you're working there, and having a bit of enjoyment too. You have family and visiting, and so we were going to take you on this conversation, you guys, around the Connie's experience of the truth behind the glamour of the laptop lifestyle. Talk about maintaining boundaries in your life when you're a business owner. And Connie owns two businesses. She's kind of got it like the full time and then this coaching other piece with the chaos to peace and decluttering and that sort of thing. So and she doesn't have children, which I mean, sometimes I'm so jealous of.
Hey, I have four-legged children, so
Like, well, yeah, horses, which is a whole other, you might have traded them for humans. But I know that myself, I would get lost if like even more lost than I can get without that. So we're going to talk about boundaries and talk about discipline and maintaining this um sense of groundedness, sense of self, decluttered ability to lead yourself through all the things. So I mean, go ahead, jump in here and tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll just start.
yeah. So I don't even know where to really start, but maybe we start when I was kind of still very young, 11, 12 years old. That's also already when I figured out that our environment has an effect on us. And don't ask me when it started. It just, I recall that I was already realizing that the environment has an effect on us. And I was kind of like rearranging things, or yeah, today you would call it declutter things, organize things, like almost like a hobby. It was probably a weird 12-year-old or 13-year-old or whatever, however old I was back then. But that's the thing, right? So to me, the whole notion of being organized, declutter, being able to have boundaries, it doesn't come just from, oh, this is a fad now, or because some
Right.
lovely lady wrote a
Yeah.
book that millions of people bought and then tried to implement in their
Yeah.
life. It comes from because the environment has an effect on us. And if we can stay grounded, and it is easier to stay grounded if we don't have 7 million things to juggle, right? And
Mhm.
so that's kind of where it all started. But then, of course, back then, that was in the 70s and the 80s, to age myself. Nobody talked about decluttering, really. Nobody talked about the organizing. Like, we were just supposed to be organized, kind of
Right.
thing. And so,
Right.
yeah, so I later, when I started working, I slipped into finance. That's a whole different story how that happened. And I just realized that, like, working as a financial controller and as an accountant, um, people were always saying to me, why is your desk so organized? That's weird. You have nothing to do? And I said, well, yeah, I have lots to do. I probably do about 2 jobs, but so
Mhm.
I started to help people how they can be a little bit more
Mhm.
organized. And I'm not talking about minimalism or anything. It's just how you can be organized that the surrounding supports yourself. And so this is kind of how this all started. And over the last, what is this now? 10 years, I focused a bit more on helping people declutter. Um, and I took some extra training to help them with the emotional side of clutter. That has a lot, like, it's very heavy, right? A lot of people um, talk about this too, how grief is often connected to it, because life goes on, right? And sometimes
Mhm.
we want to cling on to things and we
Mhm.
can't. And so then people sometimes cling on to things, and then
Yes.
it fills up their house or their office, or and also their brain. So yeah, so it's kind of like a very, very surface tour of who I am and what came about. But to me, I always say too, it's like there's so much more to clutter than you think, and I can almost take any topic and connect it
Mhm.
to clutter, or how it
And we
has.
have, right, in our
Yes,
conversations.
exactly.
And I mean, listening to you pour this out, I just wrote down the spaciousness of money. Like, that could be a whole conversation
Yeah,
in of
yeah,
itself. And
yeah.
you're so immersed in it now. You're so knowledgeable in it, and it being this concept of really managing your life without the heaviness that can come, right? So the emotional burdens, the imprinting
Mm,
and stuck energy of that, and finding ways to release that through the body. Managing the desk, like, I saw a desk of a workmate yesterday, and she had stuff all over the place, and I'm just like, you come in, it's not even my space, and it's a beautiful brand new office, and it's just, where do you even begin? I mean, it gets the mind
mhm.
distracted. So let's picture then some contrast of somebody going shopping on Black Friday or Boxing Day versus going shopping on, like, a Sunday morning, of I don't know, a summer weekend when presumably everybody's out of town, right? And a different level of
Yeah,
energy and
yeah,
frenzy in that, and how decluttering and getting organized on purpose helps us find the calm, find the peace in that without the
yeah.
distraction. So then you can lead yourself with more focus, right? In order
Mm.
to really get done what you need to without distraction, which we'll talk about as we talk about this lifestyle lap tile.
I couldn't even say that.
Well,
So funny.
laptop lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, and it's also not about beating ourselves up or perfection, right? Like, when on Instagram we see all these perfect things sometimes, and we think we need to be that way, and
Yeah,
that is not necessarily what I'm talking about. So
yeah,
it's not like we need um, a pristine
that's
environment
right.
around
Yeah.
us. We just need a supportive one, right? So that if
Yes.
for example, the things you do have on your desk are
Mhm.
the things that you're working on right now. But what I often notice when I go and help people is there is stuff on their desk that either has nothing to do with their work, it's like just some random stuff, and why is it even here?
Mm-hmm.
Or then it is stuff that they maybe should be working on but don't, and so they pile it up to keep it in view and to beat themselves up later because they didn't do it. Or then it's stuff that they don't even know anymore what it is, but it was once maybe important. And this is all really heavy. And you said about when we declutter, we don't have the heaviness. And I would say it's like, we don't have the heaviness we can control, right? Because there might always be heaviness coming from the outside, like the world is a little crazy lately. Although lately, we say this now for a while, so I don't know anymore whether lately is the right word, right? But there is a lot of heaviness that might come from the outside, but whatever we have under control, we can at least get the heaviness gone from there and create, like I said, I really want to empathize, creating a supportive space that supports you instead of sabotages you. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
So when you create a supportive space, you can hold more, right?
Yeah,
So then we
yeah.
can be easy on ourselves and what we need to do and free up some energy to consider or contemplate the other things that are going on without it kind of taking away some stuff that's in our immediate self and
Mm-hmm.
control. And then it softens the load of the other things that are going on that could be
Mm-hmm.
troubling to us, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this balance of I'm already overwhelmed and cooked to the burnt at home, and then all the world is doing all of this, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I've set up my home in a supportive and self-serving way, like a nurturing
Mm-hmm.
self-serving way. So
Mm-hmm.
now when more overwhelm or yucky comes, I can like, okay, this is awful, but I can sit with it a bit more because I'm not feeling as overwhelmed where I do have control.
Yeah, and depending on how you're wired, it can be really helpful the more chaos comes from the outside to actually intentionally do your habits or
Mhm,
maintenance
mhm,
habits
mhm,
to create your space
mhm.
and support you in that way. So, and that doesn't mean that all the nastiness or horrible things on the outside world go away, right?
Yeah,
But it doesn't help if you are all worked up about it or frazzled on
yeah,
top of it.
yeah.
So if you can create some kind of a peaceful island for yourself, you
Beautiful.
literally have more
Yeah,
mental and emotional bandwidth to figure out, can I do anything for the chaos that is in the outside, or is it just something that I have to accept that the world is going cuckoo and but I'm sitting here, right? So yeah.
yeah. So that's interesting because I mean there's already so much that's popping out that we can talk about. I mean, I'll just say it's really beautiful that at such a young age your intuition really exploded and you've been able to spend, a significant time increasing that passion and area of expertise in terms of managing self and managing finances and managing spaces and managing emotions, and empowering people to um, be good stewards of what they carry and what they work on releasing. And in this framework too, it lends itself to, the self-discipline of maintaining our commitment and our ability to deal with changes. So as we travel or as Christmas break comes, I saw a lot of businesses, well, not air quotes, but like online businesses set out of office, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're closed. We'll be back after Christmas on such and such date and that sort of thing. And even those kind of boundaries are ways of decluttering and creating supportive environments. So Connie, let's talk about this glamorous idea of traveling with your business. Like, I'm going on a trip at the end of next week. I'm so excited, and I'm, uh, planning or channeling a sense of peace because it will be chaotic. There's 7 grown women traveling to Mexico without a chaperone for a week. And not like, let's not go girls gone wild. Like, we've been friends for decades, and it's a really heart-centered trip. But there's going to be a lot of fun and energy, and I want to take some restorative time for myself because I haven't been to Mexico in eons. And I do really well on sunshine and beach. So
Me too.
it's like I want to live there. So, ways that we can take our supportive environment with us wherever we go, and that it's not necessarily just
Mm,
the desk, but it is a sense of a state of being that we want to embody everywhere.
yeah. Well, so it always depends how you travel, right? But um, the, the the issue that we often have is we think we're just as productive
Mhm,
traveling as we are at home.
mhm,
Depending, it doesn't matter what level of productive you have, but it's not as easy traveling and being very productive, right? So oftentimes we take on too much, or we think we can do too much, and
mm,
I really speak from experience. And so you really want to make clear too is like, you called me an expert, maybe I'm just a little bit more immersed in the topic, but I still struggle with certain things too, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
every time I go, so I'm right now in Switzerland, this is my home country, I have clients here, so every time I come here, I also think like, oh, and I have all this time that I can do some sitting and thinking and
mhm, mhm,
envisioning, and I've been here now for 3 weeks, and I've
mhm.
hardly had time to do those parts, right? So
Yeah.
I would say it's like, yes, it's a glamorous lifestyle on Instagram, on wherever, Facebook, and wherever all these people are saying they're sitting on the beach with their laptop, which
Yeah.
I don't think I would recommend, because
Yeah.
if sand
Sand
gets in
and
your laptop,
onion
then it's probably not a good idea.
overheats,
Um,
etc.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But the lifestyle, when you have a business like we do, the advantage is we can take our laptop with us, and we
Yeah.
can do some work, and we don't have to just shut the business down for 2 weeks and do nothing and then come back to 7,000 emails and
Mm-hmm.
whatever else pending. And so I worked while traveling across Canada in a camper and horse trailer. I worked like high end for high end clients in the controlling space twice. I would say it's easier when you come, like when I come here to Switzerland and I'm kind of like stationed for a period of time and
Hmm.
actually have every night the same bed kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you it's easier to also keep up with certain habits that
Right.
are helping you
Hmm.
run the business smoothly.
Yeah.
Um, Rather than when you're traveling around, or when you're going with a bunch of 7 girls or women that
There will be girls for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, you will be girls in that week, that probably is going to be a lot of fun. And so I think what you need to do is really being maybe realistic, and not, you can have big ambitions, what you all want to ambitions, what you want to do in that week, with considering and contemplating and having me time. But when it doesn't happen, then maybe you need to give yourself grace, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've certainly derailed multiple times, so I know this. I've lived it.
yeah.
But what I like about what you said is the continued stability. So having the same bed allows for
Mm-hmm.
that supportive environment to come with you. And so if we
Mm-hmm.
are going to travel and work, is, considering what those key pieces are that we need as creatures of habit, as, needing routine, as whatever your personality is, to
Mm-hmm.
understand and connect to that so that you can have a sense of what to put in that suitcase with you as you
Yes.
go,
Yeah.
right? And I think for
Yeah.
me, it's going to be the quiet time in the morning will be
Hmm.
an important piece to maintain some semblance of my morning routine. Um and the group is staying in two different groups, and I'm staying off site with a few others, so that might even help right there manage the
Hmm.
energy, because we're just in a slightly separate environment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do prepare for a trip like this, and what do you put in your suitcase to maintain your supportive environment? Do you just bring your laptop? Like, I love bringing my journals. I love bringing,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
kinds of things whenever I go anywhere,
Yeah.
like you say, and they
No,
usually,
and again, I think I bring too much sometimes.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
so yeah, I bring my laptop, of course, because that's
Yeah.
where my business
Yeah.
is happening.
Yeah.
Um, I also do some like I have a runway towards going away. So
Mhm.
but then I'm away longer. Like right now I'm away 6 weeks, so it's a
Mhm.
little bit different. So
Mhm.
I have a runway. So I took care of my podcast episodes beforehand, so they're kind of taken care of, so that everything that has really a due date or a time, I try to take care beforehand. I take journals with me, of course. I have my routines. I have a special routine, anyways, between Christmas and New Year.
Mhm.
So I had to take these things with me. So this is important. We need to maybe even beforehand. And I love that you said you have the mornings that already kind of earmarked for your
Mhm.
me time. I think that's a good plan, that you figure out, okay, where are my pockets that I can
Yeah.
keep my peace, and how much can I realistically get, and then try to build that really into every day. And the other thing is too, is do not forget that you are traveling for a reason. Like you go, the
Yeah.
way it
Oh,
sounds
that's
like, you
so good.
go for
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And
So
sisterhood.
exactly. So
Yeah.
my trip is both. It's, I call it workation.
Yeah.
So I have clients here, and but I also have my family, my very good friends here. So it's kind of like both. So it's almost like being at home with
Mhm.
working and doing stuff
Mhm.
with your friends, but you're not at home. So yeah. So often people say, "Oh, I'm so glad I can go on vacation and I get out of my daily grind or daily
Mhm.
routine." But you
Mhm.
still need some kind of a
That's
routine,
right.
otherwise nothing is going to happen, and this so-called laptop lifestyle is not going
Mm.
to work, right? But of
Mhm.
course, nobody talks about this because that's not very glamorous. If we talk about, well, yeah, you have to maybe be even more intentional with the and with your discipline. And
Yeah.
discipline is also a word that a lot of people don't like, but a certain level of discipline brings you so much freedom, right?
Yeah.
So and especially when you're on the road, you almost need more discipline, because the distractions are bigger and
Mhm.
everything is new, and you could just go and lay on the beach, but maybe you really need to, I don't know, get your newsletter out or do this or
Mhm.
that. So yeah, so it's for sure, it's a balance, and it is not as easy or as simple as it looks like, or these
Which,
gurus try to make it look like.
knowing that allows you to bring flexibility
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
supportive portable system. And there's talk of flow state on the internets, and,
Mm,
um, just letting things kind of go. But even the incredible women who are making multi-millions per year that I'm following, they're showing up from the same background, right? Which shows, so let's talk about this, because
mm-hmm.
this flow thing, they're showing up with the same background, which means that they're recording and having some sense of structure regardless of the time of day to where they show up for their business. They're producing at consistent levels of content and marketing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
showing up in your inbox and on social media very um, predictably. So we're seeing that's another form of structure and discipline.
Yeah.
They might be traveling and doing things, and they'll have a team. Usually, when you're making that much money, you can hire a few people to delegate to, like to post your podcasts or your courses, or
Mm-hmm.
work on things for you. Another supportive system. So they build in elements of flexibility by I probably, their own personal growth to become the person who leads their business that way. And even though they're doing these glamorous things, they're not floating away into the abyss. Like they're very
Yeah.
anchored and very purposeful in how they can execute on those things, and create space for more things, right?
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
solid foundation that holds them and helps them hold more. So that's important because, yeah, the Instagrams and the things is, kind of fluffy and misleading, and you
Hmm.
want to think critically, analytically, and look through what are these patterns that we're seeing behind this that indicate, um, where we can learn more from what these people are doing, right? And what
Yeah.
others are doing. And yes, you an expert as having years of immersion and experience in this. And an important distinction is an expert does not mean perfection
No,
by
definitely not.
any
Yeah.
stretch
Mhm.
whatsoever, but it just
Yeah.
means a lot of exposure and a lot of variety from which to call from. And I mean,
Mhm.
you've worked with so many clients transforming their spaces and their energy. So now, what are some tips that we can help ourselves with setting boundaries and, creating space for ourselves as, the matriarch in the home, whether or not we have kids, and setting boundaries with ourselves around our business, so that it doesn't take over the house, or that, we continue to have an established routine, again, like anchoring in, the core things that work for us to maintain, aligned action, I think is where I want to go with
Yeah.
this.
So I think it's of course very individual, right? That there's no
Mhm.
one fits
At
all
all,
thing,
yeah.
definitely not. But like start by yourself. So I
Mhm.
have this concept of starting with you, and then it's almost like these concentric rings going outside, and that's
Yeah.
also where you can put the boundary, right? And if you're not looking after yourself, then how can you show up for your business or for your family in a good way?
Mhm.
And you said it really beautifully with all this structure. It does need structure. I mean, we can't believe that we can have this great life with the family and the business and us personally without any structure, right? So,
Mhm.
and it might be a dream to have it, but I don't think it exists. And like you just said, all these people who make lots of money, they also have structure. They may have a support team now, but when they started, they also had to have some kind of a structure. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten to where they are right now.
So
So,
I'm just going to jump in because the image that
sure.
comes through that I wrote down and then I give it right back to you
Yeah, it's fine.
is, thinking of the word flow and water, but water is contained.
Yeah.
Water is contained by hard ground, bodies of water. And
Mm-hmm.
so picture Waterworld, that Kevin Costner movie from who knows how long, 20 plus years ago, something, right? It was a long time ago. No land anywhere. It's all water. So there's no definitive end. It's just ongoing everywhere. And you're just constantly swimming where even ocean, even, like one of the most beautiful pieces of nature in my mind is held by ground. So here's what we're talking about in a
Mm-hmm.
nature example of having something around it to hold it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. What comes to my mind when you're talking about this is like a waterfall, right? So it
Uh-huh.
is kind of channeled, and then it has the water that falls down has way more power
Mhm.
than if we're
Yeah.
just out in the ocean and that
Yeah.
water is just like
Yeah.
flowing,
Flat
right?
and
And flat.
there,
Yeah, or
whereas
maybe
the
sometimes as waves.
waterfall has,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not flowing.
the cliff
Mm,
that creates
yeah.
force. So, wherever we are in our stage of business, maybe we're at the top of the waterfall, and these millionaires I was referencing are at the bottom. And so we're
That's
figuring
not
out
a
how to
nice
get there
picture. I have to
too.
go fall down.
Well, Isn't that the old metaphor?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's like, it's to keep the boundaries, like it has a lot of facets, right? You have to have, like we talked already, you have to have a workspace that works for you, that is supporting, right? So if you come and like you have a busy day in your business, and you have children too, and everything is a little chaotic, and when you come to your desk and you definitely need to do some work, and there's chaos there too, just imagine how you feel and how productive you can be if this is also a mess. So get some space on your desk, and I have like a guide that I talk about how I think of organizing my desk, like it
Okay,
comes from me and what is right around me, and then
okay.
what is further away. So I think about it like that. Then you have to think about, for example, I call it social clutter, right? When we say yes everywhere, when we actually should say no, because we have obligations in our business, or obligations for ourselves, for our own sanity, or for our health, right? So then you need almost like, you need to make I can't speak. You have to make sure you can you put you into the calendar as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
and then more going towards putting you in first, and then you can serve everybody else, right? But if you're I'm sometimes, when I help people, I'm just happy already if they even put themselves in, because oftentimes everybody else is in the calendar. And that's boundaries too. It's like, how much do you just go out of your way and help everybody else, and in the end you're the burned out, and you have no space for your business or your priorities, or your priority as yourself, right? And
Much
so,
like a bit of that hustle culture, right? Where we're
yeah,
still growing out of that as I guess, as a
yeah.
society and as
And
an online
I
industry.
like so one of my coaches is, oh, now I just forgot her name. Oh my God. But she always says that, I'm not hustling, I'm working hard. And working hard and hustling is not the same,
That's
right?
right.
So if you
Yeah.
have a sort of supportive environment and you have a busy day, you can work hard. That doesn't mean you're hustling. And
Mhm.
I feel hustling, I always connect that to being like frazzled also. And everywhere is chaos,
Mhm.
and everywhere you
Mhm.
scramble something together.
Mhm.
And that's, to me, is
Frenetic.
kind of like,
Yeah.
that's what happens to me when I think of hustling. Again, we're not wanting to go from hustling to doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
We're
It's like
still
Zen
working
monk
hard.
in a temple.
Yeah, plump, yeah, sofa or beach in your case.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's like, literally, no, we want to, when we're working hard, but we're making sure that we have the structures in place that we
Mhm.
can work hard, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So now with I'm gonna mix things up, spice it up. With all the clients you've served who want this sense of peace and rearranging their environment, what insights can you share around like these so-called creative geniuses like the Einsteins who, do have everything in disarray? Like, is that a thing or is that a bit of a cover up?
Yeah. I get this pushback a lot. I say, oh, Einstein was a chaotic person, or
Yeah,
this is a chaotic
yeah.
person. They still have lots of success. But then if we would really compare them with the people that have success and are more structured, then they're probably more the outliers, right? And I'm not
Mhm.
saying we can't work in a
Okay.
chaotic
Yeah,
environment at all,
yeah.
but science tells us that our brain uses up a lot of energy if you are working in a chaotic environment, energy that you could use for something else, right?
Mhm.
I mean, why would we want to zap out 50% of the energy of our brain
Yeah.
with chaos around us if we could change it? And I
Before we
can't
even
speak
get
for,
started,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
I mean, just imagine if you, like, when you walk into your office in the morning and it's this mess, or that desk that you
Mhm,
were
mhm.
talking about in the
Yeah.
beginning, and you walk in, you had a good night's sleep, you're all fresh, and you walk in.
Mhm.
How is your energy field feeling when you walk in and see this desk, compared to you walk in and you see a reasonably clean desk, right? I'm not talking about minimalism and everything is spick and span clean
Yeah,
and
like
not
the
a
Canva
thingy
backgrounds of
No, I'm not talking about that, but I'm just
perfect
talking
desk.
about taking a few minutes the night before to fix the thing a bit up, right? Have this before you walk away so that
Yeah.
it's self-care again. So when you come in the morning, you're not sapped out of energy by just looking at your space. And the same goes during traveling, right? Like even more almost, like, because you don't have your dedicated workspace, so then you need to have an area that is probably suboptimal, right? Because you just
Yeah.
have to make it
No
work, right?
desk. Where am I going to write? I've got
Yeah,
people
yeah,
sleeping. I'll probably just
yeah,
leave the room, you know. But
yeah.
what's interesting is this time, part of my decluttering is I'm bringing fewer journals. I'm bringing fewer
Hmm.
clothes.
Yeah,
I'm, you know, just reducing even the desire to go there by myself and pretend like I'm on my own private
yeah,
retreat. And so in reducing what I bring reduces the expectation and or pressure for the reality of what will happen, right?
yeah.
Because yeah, my one girlfriend and I joke all the time about the number of journals we bring with us that just sit at the bottom of the bag, and in the airport you're schlepping and your shoulders and you know,
Yeah,
it's heavy and
yeah,
all this. So
yeah,
I'm also been practicing. So here you guys listening, like little tiny things that we can do to practice and enhance. Connie's been doing this for decades and helping people. And so it's your experience is twofold, Connie, because you get to see the transformation of others while continuing to fine tune your own. And I'm certain
yeah.
finding creative inspiration when you know you have these breakthroughs, if you will, these beautiful insights with other people, and then you come home and it brings a fresh energy and
Oh yeah,
you know, and how you manage yourself. And
yeah.
um
And you
so,
said it beautifully with that. We do tweaks here and there because the other thing is, and that's also why we bring too many journals and why we bring too much stuff
mm,
and why we have too much ambition and we think we can pack 1 month of thinking into 1 week of
yeah,
beach vacation in Mexico with seven
yeah,
other girlfriends or
yeah,
six other girlfriends,
yeah.
right? And this is often what trips us up too when we're trying to create change in our environment, whether that's physical environment or financial or business environment or
Mm,
whatever. We always think we can do more than we actually really can, and
mhm,
then we're getting discouraged, right? And so that's why I often say too, like a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away. So kind of when you can commit, or let's formulate this different, when you can think about how much can I commit in this vacation. I'm
mhm,
going with six others or seven others. Okay, how much can I really commit to journaling? Just in this case, because you always talk about your lovely journal. So
yeah,
let's do that. What is realistic? And
mhm,
then we have to think too, is like there might be a lot of fun. So maybe
mhm,
what you think now is realistic is not realistic when you're there. So what is the smallest amount that
there
is
you
a
go.
non-negotiable
Yeah,
that you want to do, right? And then you
yeah,
do that, and then you pat yourself on the back, and then you do more if you have more time
mhm,
or
mhm,
you have more inspiration. And if
yes,
not, you're happy and you're not beating yourself up that you took all these journals and you still didn't have time,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And again, I'm talking of experience, from
yeah.
experience, right? And so what is the smallest amount of time that you actually want to commit to? And that's becoming your foundation, right? Okay, every day I want to have at least, and let's just throw out a number, 15 minutes, right? It's very,
Mm,
everybody has 15 minutes, even
mhm,
on vacation. And even
mhm.
if you have to um,
Hide in the bathroom.
lock yourself into the toilet or something. I read the other day that these people that they created a spiritual community in England years ago, and she had also, like, there was so much going on and she could never go and meditate anywhere, and then she
Mhm.
had the insight, oh, I just have to go sit on the toilet. So again, but I mean, we don't want to sit on the toilet for hours, but where can I
There's
go?
ways that we can access that even
Exactly,
amongst it, right? And so
exactly.
the power, you guys lean in here because Connie, that tagline, a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away. That is like lightning strike gold. The power of practicing that every day, most days of the week,
Mm-hmm.
over 50% of the days in the month, month after month, year after year, is building this fitness, this increased skill set around that. And think about the power of applying that to finances, to your sock drawer, to the cutlery drawer, to your digital business office, right? That can so easily collect files, to your desk space, to paper,
Mm-hmm.
to a sense of self, to grocery, like groceries, it lends itself everywhere, and there are all these micro opportunities to apply and, you know, reduce by one, a unit of one, whatever that
Yeah.
unit is.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about it, sorry for
Yeah,
interrupting, but
go,
the
go.
beautiful thing about it is you can start it any day. You can
Right
start it
now.
at 5 p.m. at
Yeah,
night when the day is almost over. You can
yeah.
start it at any day. And it's so much more supportive of yourself too than trying to okay, tomorrow I'm gonna declutter the whole house, right? And then you're so exhausted that you're not doing anything afterwards. But if you start with these micro things, that's why I always say a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away. And you start,
Mhm.
no matter, you can start at 8 at night, you're 5 minutes,
Yeah.
something. And then you do this, like you just said, most days over for the future. What the beauty is too is like we need to maintain a certain environment, right? So we can
Mhm.
clean up
Mhm.
all we want, but then
Mhm.
afterwards it doesn't stay clean on its own.
Yeah.
And if you do it this way, in the beginning, it's maybe more about decluttering and organizing the few minutes a day. Later, you pivot into maintaining the order, which makes life even easier because then you know already, oh, I feel so much better. And that's the other thing that I always suggest people do, like really just sit still for 20 seconds and
Mhm.
figure out how the environment like feels to you. And
Mhm.
then after a while, you notice that it feels actually much nicer when there's not such a chaos around me, or if my calendar is not so freaking overfull with commitments that I said yes to that I now wish I would have said no to. And then later you maintain it and you just keep this up, this few minutes a day, you keep it up. And that's basically how I survive
Yeah.
traveling. That's
Yeah.
how I survive
Yeah.
living on acreage. That's how
Yeah.
I deal with distractions. Yeah, so this is, to me, this is the magic. I have a podcast episode that says the magic wand on how being organized or something along that line is the title, because everybody always looks for the magic wand. And I always say, like, the magic wand is a few minutes a day
Yeah.
and keeping it up.
It's true. And so Connie, you've given a testament, a testimonial to your lived experience of coming to this place. And I want to share and make it, you know, real um, from my perspective too for you listeners, because it's not impossible, right? Like it just takes continuation. And my practice has been years in the making, years in
Mm-hmm.
the making, and I
Yeah.
feel like I'm arriving at a new level of reducing chaos and reducing
Mm-hmm.
paper and reducing clutter and even just shifting space, rearranging space can do that. So, you
Yeah.
know, um, keep in mind that when you're hearing us, you're hearing the result of those few minutes a day to keep the chaos away over years of time. But it does add up over time. So,
It actually adds up quite quick. So that's the good news, right? So you might not be on this level right away. And again, I don't want to portray that I'm all
yeah, of
perfect
course.
and it's all
Yeah, a
great.
minimalist and have
I just
nothing on.
have the
Yeah,
tools
yeah.
so that if life gets crazy one of these days, and they totally get crazy. And I have sometimes a desk that doesn't look like I want it to look, but
Mhm, mhm.
because I have a
toolkit.
foundation
Yeah,
and a
mhm,
routine,
yeah,
it's quickly solved, right? And then, okay, 1 or 2 days, it looks like chaos, and then it's fine again because I'm somewhere here. And I also wanted to say that's like we all live and learn in kind of these up circles that go up. We always
mhm,
come again. It's kind of
mm,
like to a similar
right,
place we were before, but we are
yeah.
not in the same place. It's just
Oh,
kind of like a
beautiful.
higher level, and this is how
Yeah,
we're learning, right? So it's
mhm,
this upward movement
spiral.
if we
Yeah,
are intentional with it.
yeah,
And so yeah, just a few minutes a day. People always say, oh, like, no, you haven't seen my house, it doesn't help a few minutes a day. Oh yeah, it does, because if you start your few minutes a day, it will change for sure, compared to just sitting on a sofa
yeah,
saying, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I
yeah,
can't do
yeah,
anything, you
yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah. Beautiful. I could talk to you forever because I love the conversations that we have. But why don't you just share with us some ways to work with you and where to find you? And I mean, obviously, I'll drop links in the show notes, but um,
Yeah. Yeah,
bring
that's
us
cool.
home.
Put the links in the show notes. So my hub basically is my website, which is
Great.
connygraf.com, ConnyGraf.com.
Mm.
You also find there my podcast that I have, which is called From Chaos to Peace with Conny, where I have just released episode 201. So some
Wow,
are
congratulations.
conversations just like this,
Yeah.
where I'm the host. And then I have solo episodes where I talk about what I do, how I do it, how I look at decluttering, because I look at it a little bit different. I mean, I really feel like it's not another thing on the to-do list.
Yeah.
Literally, it's a way of life,
Yeah.
and it's how you take care of yourself. I always say too, decluttering is self-love,
Mhm.
and self-care, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's where you can find me. And I have a button there where you can sign up for a free consultation. We can talk how I can help you.
Mm.
I do in person if you live either when I'm in Switzerland, near Switzerland, or when I'm in
Uh-huh.
Canada, near
Uh-huh.
Canada. But mostly these days it's over Zoom or over the telephone, even if you don't feel comfortable with video. And we can work like that, and I can help you and guide you on your journey from chaos to peace.
Yeah, beautiful. And that you do. Well, thank you for this beautiful conversation and time together across the planet. It was a true pleasure as always, and I look forward to staying connected and doing more with you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much.